Welcome back, Fantasy Moto fans, to another episode of RotoX Fantasy Preview. My name is Donnie, and this week we are in Tampa, Florida, the very first round of the East Series in what is probably the second most exciting race of the year. What other sport blesses you with two different opening days? This week's format is going to be a bit different. Instead of the 5 riders I normally give you, I'm going to need some extra fingers for the thumbnail because I'm going to give you 36 riders from the East Coast, and we're also going to talk about one very exciting 450 rider making his return, in addition to what your overall strategy should be this weekend and showing you what my picks look like as of Friday morning. And if you don't play Fantasy Supercross, that's okay. This video will still help you identify who is going to be on the track this weekend. Don't forget to take a second to like the video if you could, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get straight into the 250 East Riders, starting with a brief rundown of your All-Stars. The first All-Star we're going to take a look at is the defending champion, Chase Sexton. Chase has a 1 handicap this weekend, and rightfully so. He had 6 podiums last year behind the unbeatable 2019 Austin Forkner. The other number 1 handicap we are looking at is Shane McElrath. Last year in the 250s, he raced the East and he had 5 top 5s, and he has 6 career race wins, the most Supercross wins out of anybody else in the lineup. Obviously, both of those guys are a 1 handicap, meaning the pulp guys think they are the favorites to win the race. But if you want a little bit more leeway, the next row are your 3 handicaps. We have Pro Circuit Kawasaki's Jordan Smith. He has the most 250 East experience. He has 16 top 5s in his last 22 races, all on the East, and 2 podiums in his last 3 East rounds. The other is going to be number 24, RJ Hampshire. He has 4 seasons under his belt on the East, 2018 being the last one, which was cut short after only 3 races that were all top 5 finishes. Couple that with a new bike and a new training program under the tutelage of Alden Baker, RJ looks to be a title contender this year. The next All-Star I want to look at is number 6, Jeremy Martin. Jeremy is coming back from that huge injury where he had to have multiple back surgeries after the 2018 outdoor season. So it will be a bit of a question mark of how he's going to do, but he rode Monster Cup, he rode a couple of the overseas races, so he does look back up to speed. I don't know if I like him at a 4, but I don't think it's a bad choice either. We have 2 5 handicap All-Stars, with the first being number 36, Garrett Marchbanks. Last year was Garrett's rookie season, and he had 6 top 10 finishes, with a best finish of 2nd, which was a mud race if you remember. He rode the West last year, but he seems more comfortable in rough conditions, so he should hopefully do better in the East. We also have, at a 5 handicap, JGR Suzuki's Jimmy Dakotas. He had 2 podiums last season while riding the West, but in 2018 he rode the East, and he had 3 top 10s before. The final All-Star at your disposal is going to be Kyle Peters. Peters is going to be your lofty handicap guy at a 7. This will be his 4th consecutive season racing the 250 East class. He has 7 top 10s last season in the East, and he is currently crushing the Arena Cross series, winning almost every single race. Out of all of the All-Stars, I think he is the one that is the most race ready. Let's get more in depth and take a look at all of the teams that will be competing for that 250 East crown. The first team we're going to talk about is Pro Circuit Kawasaki. It is the only factory team without any major question marks. Both of their riders are All-Stars, and Jordan Smith is a bona fide championship contender. Marchbanks in his sophomore year has a lot of expectations, and a poor showing could leave him off the team for 2021 after Pro Circuit has been spoiled with Austin Forkner, Adam Cianciarulo, Justin Hill, etc. So look for Garrett to have something to prove this season. The Geico Honda squad is going to be fielding 4 riders on the East Coast, which is insane. They have the defending champion Chase Sexton, the only 250 guy to have a single-digit number right now, and 2 hotshot rookies. First and foremost, know that Hunter Lawrence will miss multiple races, so make sure to keep him off your team this weekend. We already covered Sexton and J Mart in the All-Star preview, who are both eyeing that number 1 plate, so that leaves number 84. Joe Shimoda might feel like he has a lot to prove after beating a stacked field at the Monster Energy Cup All-Star race in 2018. He had a pretty good 2019 that was completely overshadowed by his Geico teammates, who happen to be 2 brothers you might know. Joe has the lowest handicap out of all of the rookies with a 5. His starts can be questionable, which may hurt him in this stacked field, but he also ran down and gapped Jet at Loretta Lynn's last summer, so we know that he has race leading speed. Moving on to the Star Yamaha squad, another team that poached a TLD contender. Anything less than a podium at Tampa is going to be a big disappointment for Shane O'Mac, and probably anything but the number one at the end of the year will also be a disappointment to that team. And the Pulp guys agree, anything less than a second would cost you all-star points. Yamaha has been quiet about it, but remember, Colt Nichols will not be lining up at Tampa, so make sure to keep him off your team. Colt will likely miss multiple weeks, which is a bummer for a Star team that had 4 guys with career numbers that could easily be championship contenders. The Troy Lee KTM team could not look more different, taking a page out of a small market ball and stick sport by letting all of their aging stars walk and rebuilding from the ground up. Pierce Brown has a nagging injury and is out for Tampa, so make sure you keep him off your squad. He has been on the bike though, and this may be just a single race missed. Brian Moreau will be making his pro Supercross debut after finishing 5th in the 2018 Monster Energy Cup. Is this the first time we've had a pro rider with braces? You may not know Brian, but he has no experience in the US outside of the Monster Energy Cup, and the Frenchman admits that he has very little Supercross experience. At a 6 handicap, I feel like he is going to be a monster wild card. Another team with a completely new look is Rockstar Husqvarna. RJ Hampshire looks to turn it up to 11, being the number 1 guy on a factory team for the first time in his career and being under the tutelage of Alden Baker. Jalik Swoll likely has the most hype coming in out of all of the healthy rookies. He took a 2nd at the Monster Energy Cup behind the Jet and 2nd in 2018 behind Shimoda. He was the Nicky Hayden Horizon Award winner in 2019 at the Loretta Lynn's. He was pretty unimpressive in his professional debut at Unadillas, only scoring a single pro point, but that is motocross and this is Supercross. Also a 6 handicap. I feel like he has much better value than Moreau and likely is the safest rookie pick. The final factory team to talk about is JGR Suzuki, made up of Jimmy Dakotas and apparently Isaac Teasdale? You've already seen Jimmy D riding the 450 on the West Coast to somewhat underwhelming results, but this Isaac Teasdale deal is still not on the table. The only reason I know about it is because his only sponsor listed on the event entries is JGRMX and word of mouth from Steve Mathis. He's a 13, which feels like a bargain, but his only 250 main of his career was 21st in Indy last season. He qualified 24th, but raced his way out of the heat with a 6th. Don't expect much from his qualifying sheet, but he's a gritty guy that's comfortable when the track breaks down. The first non-factory team we're going to get to is full of familiar faces. Michael Lindsay's FXR Chaparral Honda squad has been active in the 450s already this year with Jerry Robin, Justin Starling, and Chris Blos. Blos will not be racing Tampa, however. He's going to miss significant time after suffering an injury in Glendale. Justin Starling is also admittedly banged up, but is still a solid main event guy. Justin has a 5 handicap in Tampa and finished 14th in the West Series last year with 3 top 10s. That leaves Jerry Robin as the lone guy on the team that is healthy this weekend, and at an 8, it's going to really tempt some people to find out if Jerry does indeed Jerry. As a true privateer, Jerry made 6 mains last year and even a best of 12th in Oakland, but 4 of his finishes were outside of the top 18, so I would be cautious with Jerry. Staying red, Phoenix Honda is boasting the only non-factory all-star, as well as Luke Neese and Jace Owen. Neese had a single main event to his credit, a 21st in Daytona last year, so his 15 handicap feels fair, and Jace had made 2 mains last year and is at a 7. This might seem low, but remember that Jace has been around. He made 10 main events in the East in 2014 and 2015, with 3 of those being top 10s. Another Honda team coming in, Ty Lube Honda, consists of Jordan Bailey, who was on Rockstar Husqvarna last year, joined by Grant Harlan. Jordan has the lowest handicap in the class at a 1, who Paul Parabino said was on the fringe of being the 8th All-Star over Kyle Peters. This means the committee at least thinks he has 8th, 9th place potential and could be a sneaky good pick. Grant could be a wild card this season as he was 5th at the Monster Energy Cup and took 8th and 9th respectively in the Pro Loretta classes. Stepping away from the red and straight into the hype, Club MX boasts a very intriguing team with national number 66 Enzo Lopes, Red Bull straight rhythm champion Joey Crown, and out of retirement Josh Hill. Josh has a 3 handicap, and I have no idea if that's good or bad. Big Hill hasn't raced a Monster Energy Supercross 250 class since it was called the Lights class back in 2007. He did fill in for Factory Yamaha for a few races on a 450 in 2018, and he did ride ride the Australian Supercross Championship last fall, so he's not exactly coming off the couch, but I have no idea what to make with him here. He could be the highest scorer of the week, and he could also be a major flop. I think he's somebody that I'm going to stay away from. Enzo Lopes' rookie season with JGR on the West last year was okay for a rookie. He made 6 mains and had put together 2 top 10s in a row before missing the last few rounds. Lopes could be a major player at a 7 handicap, but he has burned a lot of people before, and myself included. Joey Crown is the final Club MX guy who made a big name for himself this offseason, winning the 125 class at the Red Bull Straight Rhythm and sweeping the 250 class at the Geneva Supercross. A 14 means that the powers that be think he has main event potential, and I would not be surprised to see Joey Crown make his first 250 main this weekend. Going back to the Hondas, Team Manluck, a regular from the Rockstar Triple Crown in Canada, has struck a deal with Team K&R to field a 3-man team on the East this season. John Short is the headliner, making 6 mains in each of the past 2 seasons with a highest finish of 8th at Minneapolis in 2018. An 8 handicap, Short scored a 15th last time the series was in Tampa. Chase Marquier made 7 mains on the East last year with an average finish of 17th, fitting with his 8 handicap. Ryder Floyd brings some new blood to the series, making his pro debut. Ryder finished 4th at Monster Cup after taking his talents north and winning the opening round of the Canadian Triple Crown Arena Cross Tour. He has the speed to really make his 16 handicap shine. Moving on to some green bikes, Team PRMX has looked so solid on the West, being led by Logan Carnell this year, and they are bringing 2 national number guys to the East with mainstay Lorenzo Locurcio and Justin Thompson. This is Lorenzo's 4th season on the East, finishing just outside of the top 10 in points last year despite only racing 7 of the rounds. He had a career best of 6th and is the kind of guy always lurking around that 10th place mark, which could make his 6 handicap a bargain. Thompson made 3 mains on the East last year before earning a national number as a true rookie. A 13 handicap leaves the South African as a fringe main event guy with some pretty big point potential. Back to the Yamahas, Team 3D Racing is another Blue Crew outfit led by veteran Nick Gaines and will be joined by rookie Carter Halpane. Nick is no stranger to the East Coast Supercross, but his last main events were in 2018 where he was a top 15 talent making 6 main events, which fits his 8 handicap. Nick earned his national number on the back of his outdoor prowess, however, logging 11 top 20 point scoring motos. Unfortunately, not much can be said about Halpane. He finished 6th in both the 2018 AllStars at Monster Cup and the 250 Pro Sport at Loretta's, earning him a 14 handicap in his debut. I really couldn't find much about the guy. The last team I want to mention isn't really a team at all. This is TPJ, or Team Professional Journeyman, is more of a privateer support program than a full-blown race team. Their operation is really rad, and you should definitely look into what they do for these weekend warriors. Pitting under the TPJ tent this weekend is Kevin Moranz and Lane Shaw. Kevin earned national number 77 last year after 2 East Supercross mains and a few strong showings outdoors. His 13 handicap fits him as a fringe main event contender. Lane Shaw is a 15 handicap, right on par for a guy who has made a single main event every year for the last 3 years. Well, there you have it. 34 guys racing the East with some level of team support. One guy who you are likely to see in the main that does not have any official team support is Cedric Subarus. Subs has an 8 handicap, and with some major Supercross experience, he has 11 450 starts in the past 2 years, and he had a 250 season on the East back in 2016. The crafty Frenchman should make the main with ease, and he has a big potential to flirt with a top 10 finish. Including the 4 who are injured, it's hard to believe at least 13 of those guys are going to miss the main event Saturday night. I do want to give one honorable mention to Brock Poppy, riding the 247 Honda machine, will be making his pro debut after finishing 3rd at Monster Cup behind Jet Angelique. Poppy actually tied Swole with a 2-3 but lost the tiebreaker. Jalik got the whole shot in the second main, but Brock had a faster lap time every lap for the entire main event. If you're looking for that deep 0.1% pick trend sleeper to score a ton of points, give my boy Brock Poppy a look. When you're setting your lineup this weekend, you need to know ahead of time if you're playing for something long-term or if you're ready to throw in the towel and go week to week. We are now officially over 1/3 of the way through the season, and if you're not in a good place in a championship, then it might be time to start swinging for the fences. The handicap spread this week is very peculiar. If we assume that the 8 All-Stars are going to get the top 8, which never happens, but this is all on paper, then that means that there's only one guy with a 1, we'll put him at 9th, one guy at a 3, we'll put him at 10th, and then there are 2 guys at a 5, 3 at a 6, 2 at a 7, and 5 at an 8. If I were you guys, I would really target who you think is going to end up in that 11, 12, 13 type of spot, because you're going to have a lot of value here. Somebody's going to get 11th that has a 5 or higher handicap by default, and that's going to get you 6th place points, which is 36 points. I know it's really tempting to want to go after those 13, 14, 15 handicap guys, but I just don't think this is the week to do it if you're looking to stay in contention of a championship. However, if you're somebody that's looking to zig while everybody else is zagging and score a major home run on points, look for those fringe guys. Look for those rookies. Look for those guys that are not going to qualify particularly well, so they're not going to be on everybody's map, but you have a hunch that they're going to really deliver in the main event. Okay, so the only 450 guy I want to talk about, because I want to try to keep this video some kind of short, is going to be Brock Tickle. Brock's coming back from a 2-year suspension, and he will be riding the JGR Suzuki machine. He has been testing and riding that bike for weeks, so he should already be comfortable on it. I know it was a completely different Suzuki he was riding in 2017 with RCH, but it's still a Suzuki. He should feel right at home on it. The thing I want to tell you about Brock is that he doesn't qualify particularly well. These stats are from his KTM days where he was riding the same bike Cooper's riding now, the same bike that Marvin was riding, the same bike that Dungey rode. He was qualifying about 11th. He was getting the 12th gate pick into the main, and he was starting 14th before passing his way up to 9th. He does not start well, and in a field this stacked, I don't think Brock is going to get you those home run points, but if he can get a 13th or 14th place start, I don't think anybody's going to pass the guy. I feel like Brock's going to have a pretty high pick trend, so he's not going to be like a sneaky good pick, but he's definitely somebody I'm interested to see how he qualifies and see if he can make his way onto my team before the gates drop. Speaking of my team, let's take a quick look at the riders I'm targeting. I'm going to take Jordan Smith as my 250 All-Star. He has a 3 handicap. I think he's a lock for top 4. He gets good starts. He's on one of the best bikes in the class. Jordan is my guy. I also have AC. This is my first race taking AC as my All-Star. He is one of my favorites to root for, so I'm really happy I finally have the data to back up my decision to take him. As far as my non-All-Stars go, I have John Short, Lorenzo Locurcio, and Enzo Lopes on my 250 team, and I have Justin Brayton, Zach Osborne, and Tyler Bowers on my 450 team. Again, these are my earlier locks. These are my guys that I have a little bit more faith in before I even see any qualifying times. So if Tickle looks good, Tickle is probably going to replace Bowers on my team. But if any of the rookies really shine in qualifying, then I'm probably going to take Short or Lopes off my team. I'm not much of a gambler, but this is one week where I feel like I really need to make up some ground because there are going to be some incredibly high scores this weekend. For FFL, I'm not really thinking about touching either of them. I think Kenny is your best bet if you want to pick one FFL in the 450 class, but I'm a little concerned about his confidence right now, and that seems to be a big thing with Kenny. If you want to look at a 250 FFL, I would look at Jordan Smith or Shane McElrath to take that FFL at Tampa. It's going to be almost an entire lap, not counting the sand section this week. Well, there you have it, guys. There is the rundown of the 36 East guys to take a look at and what to watch with Brock Tickle. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, even Facebook so that you are in the know with up-to-the-minute news regarding qualifying, injuries, or rider information. I am usually one of the first ones to put that type of information out. Also, with about 2 hours before gate drop, make sure to check Twitter and Instagram for our fantasy qualifying cheat sheet. This will have every rider's qualifying times next to their handicap with their projected finish and scores to give you an idea of who is qualifying better or who is qualifying worse than where the pulp guys think that they're going to finish. As I said before, make sure to like the video if you haven't already, subscribe, please, and let me know who you guys have this weekend. I don't mean your team. Who do you got for the win this weekend? I would love to see RJ do it. I've been a big RJ fan, but honestly, I really think Jordan Smith's going to come out and make a big statement after Troy Lee let him go. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. May your chizzes always chiz and your Jerrys not always Jerry. Happy picks and Godspeed. Take care, guys.